strength as India. It is knowledge. The strength of a nation in the digital age we find ourselves in is governed solely by its research and development index. The speed by which technology is accelerating has been unmatched since the dawn of humanity. India boasts of the largest manpower pool under the age of 30 in the world. Though we have potentially a gold mine of researchers with us, we barely produce any research. We have to import technology from nations like China. Our universities and our industry do not seem to share the deep connection that they do in countries like the US or China. That is why the IMC's Knowledge Committee, in association with MIT World Peace University, are hosting INDCON, a revolutionary online conference between industry and academia. The way for India to become a global leader lies in its repository of knowledge. INDCON is the way to do so.
Thank you so much to my technical team. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to mention that INDCON 2020-2021 is organized by IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry under the leadership of Shri Rajiv Podar and Knowledge Committee Chairman Shri Rahul V. I gladly welcome you all to this fifth conclave of the series focusing on Ahmedabad and Hyderabad regions. As we go ahead, let me briefly introduce you to CIAP, that is Center for Industry Academia Partnerships, which was started with the intention to build collaborations with industry and academia to encourage the maximum potential and impact outcomes. This step is taken in the direction to develop innovative solutions through process-driven approach. It is indeed my honor and privilege to introduce Mr. Pravin Patil, the CEO of the Center for Industry Academia Partnerships, who has been a pioneer in developing it and taking this initiative ahead by bringing a significant change in the university. After having very successful deliberations in the earlier four editions, we are now heading towards the inaugural session of day one of this conclave, which is on the theme Creating Next Frontier in Research and Development Ecosystem, Enabling Atmanirbhar Bharat. To launch this, I would again request my technical team to please relay a video on the theme of this session. I think my technical team is facing some.
Purnima, you can go ahead. Technical. First session has only one video.
Right. Thank you so much. Moving on, I am glad to mention that today we are deeply honored to have an esteemed member of panel on our digital dais. I would like to mention that for this inaugural session, as a chief guest, we have Dr. Parag Khanvilkar, the Dean of Faculty of Engineering and Technology at MIT World Peace University. Dr. Khanvilkar is a higher education leader, has a proven track record of building teams that transform engineering institutions, and he's extremely passionate about research. We are really honored to have you, sir. Welcome to INDCON. We also have Ms. Manju Nichani ji, the co-chairperson of Knowledge Committee of IMC, and extremely honored to have you here, ma'am, as you have come from the IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry. MIT WPU gladly welcomes you to INDCON. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. I'm equally glad to mention that we are joined by Mr. Jayant Sathe, the Director of Career Services and Industry Partnerships, who has been and extremely huge support for this whole series of INDCON 2020 and 2021. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Welcome to you too. As a moderator of this session, we have Mr. Pravin Patil, the CEO of CIAP, MIT World Peace University. Before handing over the session to the moderator officially, I would like to mention to the audiences that if you have any questions, you're free to post it in the chat box or in the Q&A section that you see flashing on your screens. If time permits, the moderator will take some questions towards the end of the session. So thank you so much, and over to you, Mr. Pravin Patil.
Thank you, Purnima. Good morning and a very warm welcome to respected Manju Nichani ji in this morning session. Dr. Parag Khanvilkar, Jayant Sathe ji, I can see Dr. Manohar also on the line. Thank you very much for joining this very important session of INDCON 2021, essentially focusing on research. And this year's theme is research and development, and how do we improve the research and development ecosystem in the universities, and how this ecosystem needs to incorporate the corporates, which is the industry, and the government at the same time. We've had these sessions in the last 4 sessions. We've covered multiple cities. We have covered Pune, Mumbai, Delhi, NCR region. We've covered Bangalore, Chennai, West Bengal, and West Bengal, which is Kolkata, and then Guwahati. And now we are doing Ahmedabad, Indore, and Hyderabad. The whole idea of this is to take the thoughts and ideas from businessmen, industries, government officials from these respective cities, and understand where they feel is the problem, or why we are not able to improve our research and development in the universities the way this happens in the Western world. Our Executive President Shri Rahul V always says this, and the key thought was the fact that sorry. So if we, so the research and development in the Western world originates from the university and then goes to the industry, and industry and university together get together and facilitate this research. It's exactly the reverse in our country. And what is it that we can do as a nation to reverse this trend and, originate research from the universities? These sessions have thrown great light on the process of the whole innovation that needs to happen in the country. And I'm happy to say we've had some great speakers in the past, including the industry secretary and Department of Heavy Industries, Department of Public Enterprises secretary, coming and speaking and talking about government's commitment to this whole initiative, and which I'm very glad that we can make that change. The objective of this INDCON will be fulfilled. I would, with this, I would request Manju Nichani ji, co-chairperson of the Knowledge Committee of IMC, to please deliver her welcome address. Manju Nichani ji, over to you. You are on mute, ma'am.
Good morning and very warm welcome to each one of you present here. I'm doing this welcome speech under different circumstances from the hospital. But, every patient believes that where there is a will, there is a way. Indian Merchant Chambers and MIT World Peace University have come together to form this great knowledge committee which will bring the academia and industry together. I think they are both two sides of the same coin. What is first? I mean, it's just asking whether the chicken came first or the egg came first.
I think we lost her. Oh, she's there. Sorry. Madam, I think there is a bandwidth issue from where you are. You're on mute, ma'am. If you could switch off your video, I think we will save some bandwidth.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. But if you can switch off the video, I think we'll get better bandwidth.
I'll do that. Okay. Can you hear me well?
Yes, much better.
Okay. I must say that there is a great need today.
Anita, can you try calling her, please?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me now? I think there's a network issue. I think you'll have to let go. There's a huge network issue in the hospital. I'm sorry, but there's a network issue. Yeah, okay.
Pravin sir, you're on mute too.
Pravin sir, you're on mute.
Madam, I think you are near two devices. If you can switch off one device and keep one device active, we'll be able to hear you.
I think let go.
Now,
Let go.
Yeah, we can hear you very clearly now.
You can hear me. So we must, I think.
Ma'am, we are able to hear you clearly now.
I think let go because it's disturbing. You can continue, please.
No, madam, we are able to hear you very clearly now.
Okay. It starts that we bring industry and academia together. I think somewhere along the line, we have underestimated academia, thinking that, industry has to help us. But let me tell you that they are two sides of the same coin. They both need each other. And I think the university and Indian Merchant Chambers is doing a great job this year by organizing these kind of workshops, seminars to bring people together. A lot of ideas come, and one idea can change the world. As you say that if you have a rupee and I have a rupee, we both exchange, we both go with 1 rupee each. But if you have an idea and I have an idea, and we both exchange, we go with a lot of ideas. I think this whole seminar and workshops, this whole INDCON has been very useful, bringing all the chapters of Indian Merchant Chambers together, and perhaps the white paper we will get will be useful not only to India, but the whole world is going to look at us. And I think MI in bringing about this change. What we need is a change. because change is the only constant factor. And for this change, what I think we really need is change of attitude. If we have a positive attitude and we believe that India, has the youngest population, where the whole world is going to look at you for a change, and if people put in their processes in place, have faith and confidence in their youth, have faith in their own research, I think we undermine ourselves very, very often and we think maybe we are not right. But if we put in our efforts together, as sure as the sun rises in the east, India will shine. India will have not only world peace, it will not only have research, but it is going to bring in that technology. It's going to bring in that change which the whole world is going to look at. I extend a very, very warm welcome to all of you, our keynote speaker who has found time to come and speak to us today. I'm grateful to the moderator and to everyone else. I'm sorry, but I don't speak like this, but the technology here in the hospital, the whole thing is so bad. But once again, a very warm welcome and thank you for having me here. I wish the conference all the best, better than the best, and I am going to follow I'll follow what is happening, and maybe if that ends, we can give some that. Thank you. Once again, a very warm welcome on behalf of the Indian Merchant Chambers of Commerce and Industry and the World Peace University, MIT. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for your welcome address. And I really appreciate your spirit that you are in the hospital and you still delivered your welcome speech from the hospital. Thank you very much. Really honored. Today we have Dr. Khandekar with us, who is our keynote speaker. A very warm welcome to you, Dr. Khandekar. Thank you very much for taking time to talk to us. We had Mr. Sachin Lodha, who was supposed to join us today. Unfortunately, there is something urgent that has come up and he had to excuse himself, and he conveyed regret for not being able to attend the session today and has wished all the very best for this session. Thank you, Mr. Lodha. Dr. Khandekar, good morning to you and a very warm welcome.
Good morning to you.
So, Dr. Khandekar, we'd like to hear from you. What is your view, and what do you think about the stage where we are in the country on the industry academia partnerships, and how do you see the future of this with the initiative of INDCON and the way we are progressing? How and where do we head ourselves with the current situation? Over to you, Dr. Khandekar.
Thank you so much. Thank you, IMC, and thank you, MITWPU, for this opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Manju. I think you spoke my heart. You said that academia is usually underestimated, and that made my next point very easy. Thank you, the entire team of this INDCON organizing team. Pravin sir, coming to your point, what is my view on the current industry academia ecosystem in India and how we can take it further? For that, I'll have to look at this. It's a very broader topic, and I would like to connect the dots at India level, at world level, what is happening, and then possibly what steps we can take to improve this ecosystem in India at least. Now, there are 3 points that we have been talking about, and one is the government, where the policies are made. The second is the industry, where the knowledge is being used, or the human capital that we create in academia is used to process further. And the third is the important point which we are talking about is the academia, where the knowledge is usually is expected to be generated. Now, if you see this triangle in India, right now it is heavily lopsided towards industry as far as knowledge generation is concerned. And academia is actually trying to follow what is happening in industry in India. Whereas all of us know that in the developed countries, be it European countries, US, or any developed country like Japan, it's the other way around. And all of us know that the knowledge is generated in academia and is consumed by the industry. Now, for that, we need to understand what is that ecosystem they created. We can derive and draw some inspirations from that, and we can create our own model, which is unique to India. Now, why it happens that the knowledge is generated in academia in developed countries? There are 3-4 important reasons which we will have to deeply understand. The first thing is the research funding is coming from companies and they trust the academia. I am using the word trust. Right now, I think this trust is missing in India somewhere. Okay. And the research which is happening in India is basically either industry funded, like pharmacy sector, where they fund their own research and they have their own R&D centers, which are well known. India is known for that. The second part, which is government funded research, and the example of that is the space research that we are doing. The seed was actually sowed maybe 3 or 4 decades back by those visionaries like Vikram Sarabhai and those Indian government prime ministers, and they invested a lot in space technology. Now, in last 5 years, we see the fruits coming out of the investment they made in that direction as a government. And now we can launch any satellite at a throwaway price, and many countries, even developed countries, are looking at India in launching their own satellites. So what happens in developed countries, industry and government both look at academia and trust them that the knowledge can be generated there. And obviously the academia also has earned that trust from both these important stakeholders. For that, academia also will have to take some steps. Okay. If you see the per capita GDP expenditure on higher education, or for that matter on research and development in developed countries, I think India is far, far, far behind. In any term, the amount we spend around 0.69% of our GDP on research and development, whereas even if countries like South Korea spend around 4 to 5% of their GDPs. And naturally, all the intellectual properties are owned by these countries, which are spending a lot on R&D themselves. So if you see and if you plot the patent intellectual property ownership graph across the globe, you will find that it's there in Norway, it's there in Japan, it's there in South Korea, it's there in China now, and USA, obviously USA. But if you see the patent being generated in India, you'll be surprised to know that out of 54,000 patents that usually are filed in India, around 30% are filed again by Chinese companies and Chinese, and few by US and European countries. So we cannot just go by these numbers, we have to do a lot there. So the point which I'm trying to make here is, if the ecosystem in India has to be developed, the government through its policy framework is doing a lot of good work. In the present, government is doing a lot of good work. Now, there are 2 types of frameworks which are coming up. One, framework for the industry. What government is doing to fund R&D to industry. There are different policies. And Mr. Pravin sir, you are quite aware that the PSUs have a lot of CSR funds. If they are deployed in the technologies that will take India ahead, the way India invested in space technologies 3 or 4 decades back, if the CSR funds which are available can be deployed systematically and with in identified thrust areas, I don't see any reason why India cannot be a 5 trillion economy in next 5 years of time. So we will have to tap these funds, CSR funds of all the companies. And if we can come out with a policy through a government framework where these funds can be utilized and channelized in identified technology areas. A lot of good work is happening through these CSR funds, but mostly it is in empowering education, grassroots education, which is essential, because health and education are the 2 sectors which can take the country to a developed country. But at the same time, some portion of that fund can be also utilized in investing in developing the technology for the future. And right now, the technology centers that we have in India are basically the offshoots of the parent companies in USA predominantly. So we may have, let's say, Cisco, we may have Intel R&D center here, we may have, let's say, Cognizant R&D center here, but we are doing research for the company which has a headquarters in USA, and the things are getting manufactured in China. So in this entire ecosystem, the 2 countries which are getting benefit are US and China, whereas we are doing entire service work for the other two developed countries. And that is where it really pains us that why can't we develop something for our own good and for the world? Okay. The point which I'm trying to drive here is we'll have to convince the government, we'll have to convince the industry sector that you have a lot of policy framework. Can we prioritize certain areas, looking at the future, looking at our own socio-demographic, which Dr. Manju was talking about? We have a lot of youth, we have a lot of talent, we have a lot of skills. Where do we invest all these resources? That is a big question. If we invest into different areas, the vector sum or the larger outcome may not be predominant, and it will die out over a period of 3-5 years. But if we all decide together, all these three important stakeholders, and come together and decide 3 or 4 thrust areas for India, and all of us gear up towards that direction, I don't see any problem in becoming a 5 trillion economy in next 5 years. Now, coming to the policy framework for the education system, a lot of good framework is being now proposed, and I'm sure it will be implemented through national education policy. It's going to be a game changer for India, not only to reform education sector per se, but also the way education sector will deliver its output to the industry, the way the skills, the exit policies are being defined. So after you complete the first year of, let's say, commerce, you will get a certificate. After you do second year of commerce, you may get advanced certificate. And when you complete 3 years, then you will get BCom. So there are lateral entry and lateral exits being planned, and the skills which are matched by the competences required by the industries. So I think the national education policy will be a game changer in creating this ecosystem. I'm very convinced. And then there is a National Research Foundation. Under this NEP, there is a National Research Foundation. So right now, the grants and the university funding is coming from DST. A lot of, if you see the government funding to academia, is coming from DST mainly. And their thrust areas are basically science and technology. Okay. But when we are talking about something very useful to the industry, we need to talk about applied research. And many a times academia is involved in theoretical research, and the focus is on publishing papers. But can we shift this focus from theoretical research? No doubt that is important. But if we need to support industry, and if we want to get attention of the industry towards academia, I think we need to solve their problems. And these problems can be solved through applied research mainly, not the theoretical research. So therefore, a lot of funding should be made available uh, to the academia, maybe through a government policy, like some portion of the CSR fund can be given to academia. And academia should also live up to the expectation of the industry to deliver and solve the problems of the industry. If you ask me which are the 3-4 areas where India should focus through this connection of the three stakeholders, uh, artificial intelligence is the one area where government needs to fund, not in 100 crores. I would say they have to fund in billions of dollars in artificial intelligence. We have seen in the world, ministries have been formed for artificial intelligence in developed countries. India need a strong ministry for artificial intelligence, because if you create that kind of supercomputing hardware and a human talent which can work on AI, we can solve larger problems like sustainable development goals of the world. And that is what is the need of our today. India can be the biggest contributor of solving certain critical SDGs which the world is facing now. And for that, we need some hardware. We need some researchers who will focus on AI to solve that problem. The second area which I feel is the electric mobility or smart mobility. Uh, Only the sheer size of the Indian country, the population, we have a lot of consumption within ourselves for smart mobility. And when I say smart mobility, I do not mean only public transport, but smart mobility even in defense sector, smart mobility in e-commerce like Amazon, inventory management, chain management, logistic management. And India being a I repeat my point, we ourselves need this smart mobility for various applications, right? And we can be a pioneer. We are right now procuring technology from UK, USA on autonomous driver vehicle or the Hyperloop concept, which Elon Musk is working on very hard. We have a lot of students who are working on this Hyperloop concept in MIT WPU and clubs. That's the future. We have to think out of the box for public transport, for personal transport, for transport of goods. At the same time, how do we harvest the energy which is required for this smart transport, intelligent transport? Can we use non-conventional energy sources? Can we have Hyperloop working on solar and wind power so that it will not consume power? Because creating a vacuum for Hyperloop takes a lot of power. So we have to think, and looking at the geographic spread of our country, we have all these non-conventional energy sources available in terms of solar, in terms of wind, in terms of the tidal power, because we have a longest sea coast. So these can be harvested towards developing a smart transport solutions. India could be the biggest consumer of that, but the populated countries like China and South Korea, where the population density is more, Japan, those can be also big technology buyers for this kind of technology. And the third area which I feel where we can focus, we have been traditionally agriculture country, and agriculture still contributes to a larger GDP in our country, although it is declining slowly. But we have to focus on agricultural technologies. A lot of good work can be done by having AI and IoT, Internet of Things, or industry IoT applied to agriculture. If we can start treating agriculture as a big industry, right now again it's like research in India. Research is individual based in India. If we can go to team-based research, we can generate a lot of knowledge. Same is the case with agriculture in India. It's individual, me and my farmland. But if you can, that's what I think the Honorable Prime Minister is trying to do. If you have a scale, you get the benefits more. So if this agriculture can be looked in a different way, and we can, revolutionize this agriculture farming right now in India with the use of technology, the way Israel has done, I think we can do wonders. So these are the three areas where I think if government can support, I repeat my point, there is a lot of good work happening. But if you want to create a technology that will impact the world, then we have to focus our energy in one area. Otherwise, the energy will get dissipated in a lot of areas. Okay, and we will not create an impact on the world. So my suggestion here through this panel will be, we should identify through the white paper that we are going to submit 3 or 4 areas. Tell the government that we want funds. We have the cheapest, I'm using the word cheapest very carefully when I'm talking about academia, because academia is not going to charge the consultancy charges or the development charges to the industry. They will do it for the sake of the sheer satisfaction of generating that knowledge. Okay. Obviously, I don't say that they will do it for free, but the kind of amount that will be invested to develop the technology by involving academia will be very, very less, maybe 1/10 of what industry would be investing in research and development. So academia can play a better role. And the trust, if that can be developed, and industry can start believing that, yes, in Indian academia, they can develop this kind of technology, I think we can see Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is the theme of today's discussion. And it's not only Atmanirbhar. Why only Atmanirbhar? Let's go and जैसे पहले होता था सोने की चिड़िया भारत में होती थी, and exports, we used to export textiles, spices. A time should come when we should be the exporter, and it should not be only for Atmanirbhar. It should be making world Nirbhar, whatever you say, global Nirbhar. And that is where we can contribute. So these are my initial thoughts on this topic today, sir. And thank you so much for this opportunity to share my thoughts.
Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Khanvilkar. That was a very insightful, address from you. You spoke about pharmaceutical and space. Pharmaceutical is our strength, and space, you said, is an area that we invested a few years back, and that's what is giving us very strong result today. And then you spoke about three areas of application: AI, electric mobility, essentially providing transport solutions. And then you spoke about applying IoT in agriculture, or the agriculture sector per se. What is your view on the defense sector? So, for instance, India, which is the world's largest consumer of defense equipments, and our budget this year is almost close to 50 billion on defense expenditure, up from 46 billion last year, so $46 billion US dollars to about 50 billion US dollars. And DRDO is also taking some steps. There is this thing of Tejas aircraft, which has been developed by the nation. And we have now customers approaching us to buy the Tejas. In fact, there was a talk of US wanting to take about 300 aircrafts from India, the Tejas aircrafts for their, aircraft carriers, basically, because of its size and its agility. So there were some advantages to that. What is your view on our research and development in that space, and what do you think should be the government's approach towards defense manufacturing in the country, or towards defense research and development? Manufacturing is just about, but the development of technology, and how do you look at that?
I think one area which has made US richer is defense, manufacturing of defense.
US and Russia, actually, both.
US and Russia.
And to some extent, France.
Yes, you are absolutely right. And they are developed countries.
Yeah.
So that was one area in which they could create you can say, technology muscle power across the world. Yes, that could be the fourth and fifth area. I cannot ignore that area. Fundamentally, I would prefer to invest which is going to be a sustainable area. And defense for our own consumption is good. Defense for, if you go for selling the defense technology to the outside world, if that is a long-term objective, then I have my own personal reservations about that. But if it is for consumption and developing technology for defense, yes, that area is a very hot area, and government has started opening up that areas for private sector. Like I think L&T and one more company, or Tata
and Mahindra also.
Also, and government is opening up. The other, I think in the last week, ISRO has opened up the space technology, and they have told that private companies can use whatever resources they have developed and can start developing further technologies. So I think rather than defense, I would again focus on space technologies, if at all I have to choose between defense. But defense is definitely a good area for research for Indian academia and industry.
Yeah, because as I mentioned a little while ago, it's very clear that today when you talk about the US economy in the worst of times, also the exports of Boeing aircrafts were the largest area of their export bill, and with China developing defense aircraft systems, or the aircraft systems, is posing a big threat to the US aircraft manufacturing industry. So I think defense equipment manufacturing is a big sector. We should look at that. Space, of course, no doubt. I mean, and in a way, I think very strongly that defense, the space sector also, supports defense to a very great extent.
Yes.
Great. So, Jayant, would you like to come in? You're on mute.
Yeah, just for the reference of all the participants, and being the member of CIP, with Sir Pravin sir, I just want to put the small brief about the theme about this whole webinars. Can I go ahead with that, sir?
Please.
Yeah. Because what has happened, let me say that it's a brainchild of Pravin sir to come up with this beautiful webinar, and it is very successful in last 4-5 sessions, 4-5 webinars we started from November onwards. And it is a need of ours to really focus on R&D areas and how we can, interlink with the industries. So I'll just mention that, what is the crux or what is the philosophy behind coming this webinar. I'll just, because as Khandekar sir has just mentioned, Prime Minister is taking in a great initiative to really promote R&D and to become a Atmanirbhar. That is why the topic is like launching, creating next frontier in R&D ecosystem, enabling Atmanirbhar Bharat. Now, let me put the philosophy behind this. The crisis in the form of COVID-19 has impacted lives and livelihoods across the globe. While the situation has been ongoing, the best minds in the world entirely trying to find and innovative solutions to combat the spread of the virus. To create the greater opportunities in the crisis, Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi made a clarion call for Atmanirbhar Bharat, or as a self-reliant India, and that would be a great source for global impact. The five pillars on which Atmanirbhar would stand and on which our country could possibly enter an era of sustainable economic prosperity and social good, bridging the gap is economy as well as digital device. Now, let me say that this is a very important, the imbibedness our Prime Minister has given. And what I feel like, this Atmanirbharta, the classic example is the development of two vaccines in India. I think this is a classic example. Like, Bharat Biotech and Serum, they have developed this Covaxin and Covishield. Normally a vaccine is taken a time of maybe 4 to 5 years or sometimes 10 years also to develop it. But I think when you really push the things, you can make the things or make the product in a very short span and with quality. So I think, this is a sign of India. And, it is giving a, lesson to other countries also, and it is creating a brand of India, that India is nowhere behind in terms of technology or developing a new product or handling in any crisis also. But I just want to put another thing is, there is a need of hour of speed also, which we have seen in this, Bharat Biotech and Serum, when they started developing the vaccine. I'll just put up one small quotes, I think, which is very resemblance what Pravin sir normally says. It is written by Elon Musk, who is a founder of Tesla. The quotation is, if you give yourself 30 days to clean your home, it will take 30 days. But if you give yourself 3 hours, it will take 3 hours. The same applies to your plans, ambitions, and goals. So I think, this is a very important message for all of us from industries, everyone. And so I think the need of hour is that whatever technology we are going to have it in the future, whatever technological or R&D plans we have in the future, I think the speed is very important. Speed is very important. Pravin sir, I just want to say about this.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So, Dr. Khandekar, how would India get access? So, there are a lot of these MSMEs in the country who are wanting to, innovate, wanting to, create new products, create niche products, or, kind of create USPs for what they want to do. But they lack the research infrastructure or the access to expensive research, from out of India or I remember when Tata Motors had created this new Indica, they used IDEA as a design house from Italy, who helped them design and innovate the entire structure of that vehicle. Now, there are a lot of these small MSMEs who also have ambitious plans and want to do a lot of new innovation. How do they get access to affordable research and development?
As we know that MSME contributes to around maybe around 4 to 5% of our GDP. And one thing that they miss is they invest a lot in procuring technology. Let's say if I talk about air conditioners, just air conditioners. So some parts of air conditioners, which they manufacture for OEM supply, they have to buy the technology, let's say from Germany. Okay. And they spend a lot of money in buying that technology here. Now, what again government needs to think in the thrust areas, which I repeat again, to create technology centers, let's say somewhere in Pune, electric vehicle technology center, which is funded by a government. The land could be in MIDC, Chakan or somewhere else. It should be very close to academia. And these technologies will be bought by this center and will be made available to these MSMEs and the knowledge transfer will happen, then it will become cheaper for them. That is point number one. Point number two, that technology center should also have the in-house R&D facility for that sector where academia can go. Some people from the industry will be also deputed there, and they together will solve the problems of that technology or the future in that particular sector area. So that's exactly what I was talking about. We created MIDCs 4 decades back. MIDC for, let's say, chemical in Konkan region, all there are chemical factories. Aurangabad, let's say some particular sector of manufacturing, Aurangabad. We need to now create technology centers in selected areas or sectors in selected cities. And that should be our focus, So I was talking about AI. AI center could be established in Bangalore or Mumbai or in Pune because these are IT hubs. And a lot of investment can be made, like what we did in MIDC. We need some AI centers which are available for MSMEs, academia to do research on. Otherwise, individually, they cannot procure this component looking at their scale of business. And academia, because their exactly cash flow depends upon the incoming fee only, they do not have any other financial resource. So they will not get fund from anywhere else. That is where the government can pitch in. So I can visualize technology centers coming up in thrust areas, and there this knowledge generation will happen and will be helpful to MSMEs. And they will not have to invest a lot in procuring this technology from developed countries.
Wonderful. Very good thought. I mean, there is a need to redefine the purpose of MIDC. I mean, and you're saying that we need to have technology centers or clusters in, so that, and how do you think the structure of this technology center would be? Would it kind of have an AI center, the electric mobility center, or agriculture with applied or defense equipment manufacturing, or what kind of, how would this clusters kind of create? Can you elaborate a little more on this?
Okay, so I can give 2 examples. One could be, again, I repeat, Pune and Chennai being the automobile hub, and for
Right.
that, in Delhi, Hero Honda. So there is one area where, so there are 3 predominant geographic locations in which automobile is getting manufactured. We need to have 3 centers, electric vehicle or future technology or smart transportation technology development centers in these 3 cities or 3 these geographic location areas. If we talk about AI kind of thing, then one could be in Bangalore, one could be somewhere between Mumbai and Pune. So what I mean is where the IT resources are available, where that ecosystem is existing in some or the other format, that technology center can go there. Similarly, few years back, we created agricultural universities. Now, this agriculture technology could be within this university, and which will work on the crops or the farm produce which is being produced there. For example, if it is related to dairy, it can go to Anand, where Amul is there. So they have a bigger ecosystem there. If it is related to sugarcane or grapes, it could be where somewhere around Nashik or maybe Dapoli or Rauri University. So I'm talking in the context of Maharashtra. I am sure in India, there are a lot of good research centers in agriculture. How this will operate, to me, they will invest a lot into R&D infrastructure, equipment. They will also, in a way, hire researchers across the globe, top researchers from the academia and from industry. People will be deputed to these research centers, and they will be given a mandate for 5 years of time. They will have to produce some sort of technology advancements in the area identified. And then if they want, they can go back to their respective fields, or they can continue based on their performance. So we can create a model based on the performance matrices and the technologies in which India wants to grow. And industry through CSR fund can invest in the technology or equipment. Government can give the land the way they used to give to MIDCs. Tax havens, they used to call it as tax havens because taxes were exempted. So similarly, some sort of policy framework can be created to develop these new MIDCs, I would call. New, we can RIDC centers, we can call. We can give a new term to this, but that's a new idea which comes to my mind. We need these technology centers.
Wonderful, wonderful, Dr. Khanvilkar. I think this is worth this needs to go into the white paper. I think that's a wonderful point, and it's a thought for the government to ponder upon and kind of reimagine how they want to utilize the MIDCs or RIDCs as you call it. And thank you very much for your inputs. Thank you, Dr. Khandekar. I think it was a great session, and for your time, for insights. For
Pravin sir, if you don't mind, can I just ask?
Please, Jay.
In fact, Pravin sir, just for the sake of all the participants, Pravin sir, as you know, handled a very senior position in government departments. He was secretary at Delhi, and he was head of Hero Motors. So I would like to ask Pravin sir as well, on whatever points we have discussed, what is your thought process? We just want to have your thinking.
So, very good question. Actually, what is happening in our country today? We are in a catch-22 situation, the chicken and egg story right now. The industry, we say that industry should trust academia and give research projects. And as a academia, we also in the same breath need to ask this question whether we are outcome-based research or we are doing paper research, whether our research will really help the industry, whether it will help the people at large, whether is this research resulting to a solution, And so if we are able to answer this question and generate credibility in our research, I don't think funding is a problem. I don't think availability of funds is an issue, as long as we are able to give a result-oriented or a solution-oriented research. If that happens, and I think the universities are working in that direction, and we are trying to create that ecosystem. But it's just a matter of when will that first start happen, or when will that first beginning happen? And I would call that the point of inflection, where the country will see research and development emanating or originating out of the universities, private universities in particular.
Jayant sir,
yeah.
Can I ask this question? I have a question for Pravin sir as well.
Yes,
please. Pravin sir, you come from a very a background which is a diverse background. You have worked in government. You have seen that side. You have worked in industry for a long time at a very high positions, and you have seen that side. And now you are in academia. So I think you are the perfect blend and confluence of all the three stakeholders that we wish to connect. In that direction, you said that academia has to build a trust. And I completely agree with you that we are not, as an academicians, are not known to work on timelines. And for research is something that we do, maybe not as a primary responsibility, secondary responsibility, maybe a third or fourth responsibility. What will be your message to academia? Having seen government machineries, having seen the industry, what will be your message to academicians?
See, friends, all I want to say is funds or money costs money. So there is a value of money. Now, when those funds are invested, it may be in the nation's interest, it may be in the industry's interest, it may be in any space. In a recent meeting with one of the secretaries, very politely he asked, but ये जो funds PSUs आपको help करेंगे, support करेंगे, how will it benefit that industry, or how will it benefit that organization? Can you draw a charter around that? So the point is, while I understand that for academicians, academics is priority, but unless we don't make research also our priority, so there are a lot of universities abroad, and I think in India also, which are research universities. So we can have a set of professors and teachers who are the teaching side of the university, and then we should have some research professors also. The professors essentially work and only focus on research and support and help the ecosystem within the university for people who are interested in doing research. So there could be some students who would say, sir, I have come to take a BTech degree, or I've come to take a MTech degree, but I also want to do research in this space. So we need to have these research professors who need to support and help build that ecosystem. Dr. Khanvilkar, so that's an investment that you would make initially, but it will have a long bearing fruits in the long run when it comes to research and the kind of recognition it would bring to a particular university. I mean, just as example that you gave a little while ago, and I would go by that same example, like if we wouldn't have invested in the space, area or space sector, once upon a time, Vikram Sarabhai, Baba Atomic Center and all of that we created at that time, if these investments were not made by the government, we wouldn't have been where we are in the area of say missile or in the area of say missiles or space technology or whatever. So I think clearly there is a these are two sides of the same coin. Both have to work together to be able to get a solution for the nation. I hope I have answered your question, Dr.
Yes, sir.
Khanvilkar.
Thank you so much. The one thing which I really appreciate, particularly coming from the MIT WPO side, is that it envisioned a separate cell for industry academia. And barring 2 or 3 universities which I know of repute, this center does not exist. And I think this center, at least in MIT WPO, is doing a very good work in connecting these dots. And I have seen, because I've been working with these team members and IMC now also, that yes, they have understood the need. And if we have understood the problem and we are working towards a solution, I think we are in solutions will definitely come. As Dr. Manju was talking, we keep on discussing, the solutions will definitely come. The thing is, we want to discuss, we need to identify that this is our pain area. And I must appreciate the Center of Industry Academia Partnership, the entire team, which is going extra mile to connect MIT WPO with the outside industry world. So I really appreciate that effort from the CAP side. And I hope these kind of centers are established in private universities, which only talk about industry academia collaboration. But when it comes to investing and connecting these dots, they do not do anything. So I really appreciate this.
Thank you, Doctor. And I think it's all about connecting the dots. There is a very strong desire. I mean, if we've gone through almost 8 cities now, and across all the cities wherever we spoke, I think there is a very strong intent, whether it is the government or the industry. Everybody wants to support. It's just a matter of creating that platform, creating that ecosystem where everybody gets together and we work towards this objective and kind of take our economy away from being a service economy to a manufacturing economy to a creator economy, and then if we're able to do that, we will do a great cause to the nation. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. It was a great inaugural session. For your time, I would like to thank Manju Madam for coming and speaking out to us from the hospital, and I really appreciate that spirit. Thank you, Dr. Khanvilkar. Thanks, Mr. Jayant Sathe, for your time. I'd like to thank all my team members from the Center for Industry Academia Partnerships for putting up this show. We have some very exciting sessions in the next 2 days. I expect a high level of participation from all of you in the coming sessions, and I would request you to convey and pass on the message to your colleagues and friends to take benefit of these sessions. As all of you know, all these sessions will be culminated into a white paper, into a document, and every city, every location, gist or the learnings that we have from every city will be compiled into a master white paper, which will be submitted to the Prime Minister's office and to the respective governments in Delhi and the state governments to take cognizance of and act upon. Thank you very much, everybody, and look forward to the next session. Purnima? I don't think we have Purnima. Okay.
I think Pravin sir, can I just announce?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Actually, sir, thank you very much, Khanvilkar sir, Pravin Patil sir, and all the dignitaries who came on this beautiful webinar. I just want to announce that our next session will start at 12 o'clock, and the topic will be role of educational institutions in R&D and initiatives in India. So please tune in and please connect at 12 o'clock. And thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.